Hi. Well, I'm on my way to pick up a few items to illustrate why things like YouTube and MySpace and Facebook, Twitter, all those things are so very important to the gay community, and why they're even more important to the young people in the gay community. There, got him. Okay, we're here. One of the great things that these videos do is shows gay people having a good time with friends, with family, no matter where they live, even in rural areas. Now, I came from a town of about 4,000 people in the Midwest, and in those days you didn't mention anything about being gay, homosexual, or anything else. In fact, the only way you could say anything about that was in complete derogatory terms. So I didn't have any community, and I was confused on top of it. What I did have was music, movies, and TV. Now, on television back in those days, there was no openly gay characters. There were characters you could perceive to being gay, like Uncle Arthur on Bewitched or Lost in Space's Dr. Smith. But other than that, not anything at all. In fact, if there was gay characters, they were usually the sad people who get killed in the end, or there was some evil guy perverting little boys. But there was no Will and Grace back then. Now, as far as movies go, just about the same thing can be said. Movies like Boys in a Band, or even later on Dog Day Afternoon, pretty much kept the gay characters as the sad people or the evil people, and usually ended up dead. But one movie I would really like to mention is one that meant so much to me as a kid growing up, and it was called Bless the Beasts and Children. The movie was about a bunch of misfit kids who release buffalo who are certain to be killed. And there was a character named Gerald Goodnow in it. He never outwardly came out he was gay, and it never really was said in the movie that he was gay, but I identified with him an awful lot. Now, music is where things really happened for me. I really loved it back then. It was just bursting out, and it was just all great and weird and interesting. And that's why I went and picked up a bunch of albums down in my studio down at the gallery. And one that comes out pretty much on top is an album that was voted #1 most gay album ever by Out Magazine. And I was so glad they picked this one because it meant so much to me when I was a kid growing up. And that's David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. It did one thing that teenage boys love, and that's mixing sex with science fiction, so it was perfect. And not only that, it also showed that there were other homosexuals out there, other gay people out there. It was great to know that someone else out there felt how I felt. And this album will always be, #1 in my book for that. Also, Lou Reed's Transformer, a great album that taught me a little bit about Andy Warhol, and about the New York scene, and about being gay in New York. And Roxy Music's Stranded was the first Roxy Music album I ever bought. It's not Roxy Music's first album, it's the third actually, but it's the first one of theirs I bought. Brian Eno's Here Come the Warm Jets. It was weird and wonderful and new. I'm still a fan of Brian Eno. He's still doing great music. And God, he was really sexy back then. He's still as sexy today. I met him at a lecture once, and I was just shaking his hand. And one album here I had to mention because it meant an awful lot to me. It's not a gay album. I mean, none of these are really gay albums necessarily, except maybe for Ziggy Stardust. But to me, it brings up a lot of memories, and that's Who's Next by The Who. I'm a big Who fan. I'm a big Pete Townsend fan. John Entwistle is also my favorite bass player. And it just has one song in particular that means an awful lot to me called Bob O'Reilly. I knew a guy back then when I was in high school, and we would go out and hang out at a certain place that we called Teenage Wasteland, which was taken from Bob O'Reilly. And every time I hear this song, I think of him. And my first great love, and he'll always have a place in my heart. He was cute and wonderful and dangerous. So I gotta tell you, these guys, my gay icons here, well, none of them are gay. That's the interesting thing. David Bowie, I guess, is bisexual, but Brian Eno here, the guy with the makeup on, well, notoriously heterosexual, I'm afraid. I always thought that was interesting. But why all this nostalgia on my part? What's it got to do with YouTube and what you guys are doing today? Well, I just wanted to let you know that what these guys did for me in the 70s, you're doing today for gay people young and old now. And I just wanted to say, hats off to you guys for doing the good work.